is Neal. Neal, this is Ryan.
Oh, hi, Ryan.
Hello, Neal. It's nice to meet you. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Beautiful.
I apologize, guys. Neal, tell Ryan about who you are and what you do.
My name's Neal Smith. I've been a cannabis activist mostly in Indiana since 1972.
Awesome.
And I'm an old man now. When I started my quest to re-legalize cannabis, 12% of the people in America wanted cannabis legal.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's at 77%.
Yeah.
That is super majority. Why the hell are they not listening to us?
Exactly. I live in Colorado, so.
Oh, you lucky dog.
I know, right?
You don't know how many times I've just wanted to say, screw it, I'm leaving, you know.
Come to Colorado. I'll let you sleep on my bed.
Yeah, but I just got a brand new grandbaby, and
oh, you can't leave then. No.
in fact, I got to hang out with her a little bit this evening, and yeah, that, and well, 3 of my 4 daughters are here in Indiana. My wife's here in Indiana, doesn't want to leave. I keep trying to tell her, let's at least go to Illinois. The climate's not as bad as Michigan. You know,
so you've been at this for a very long time, an advocate for marijuana use, responsible marijuana use, and yeah.
My hair was coal black when I started.
Yeah.
What would your current label be with Indiana NORML?
I am officially chairman emeritus. I served as chairman of the organization from 2010 to 2016 and from 2017 to 2019. After 50 years as a cannabis activist, I'm tired. Okay. You know, I have collected an immense amount of knowledge and information that I still pass on to whoever needs to, but it came time for me to step down and, you know, let younger people take it. We've got some pretty amazing people on the Indiana NORML board.
Great.
You know, they, you know, nobody does this alone.
No.
Nobody does anything like this alone. You know, I'm also serving as political director now, and we just became a 501c4, which is a political nonprofit. We had been for many, many years a 501c3, and that limited us in how much political activity we could do.
Like in terms of lobbying and the legislature and stuff? Yeah, okay.
We endorsed candidates for the first time ever this past election. We've been trying to play every angle we can possibly think of. We're doing a series of video podcasts. Now we did some through the run up to the election called Cannabis Conversations with the Candidates. And that was getting an average of 20,000 page views every time we ran one. You know, the 2020 election was just kind of a strange election. It did not, you know, most of our candidates didn't make it. One did. And, you know, but we got a lot of word out, and we know that they know that cannabis is an issue now, and they're going to have to deal with it one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, you got, you know, it all comes down to, in Indiana, like I was starting to say a little bit ago, we don't have the citizens initiative. We can't vote directly on the on whether cannabis can be legal or not. Like,
oh, you can't.
Colorado and most states can do that.
Yeah, a lot of states have
signature run to get it on the ballot as a direct statement. correct? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, we cannot do that in Indiana. We have to go through the legislature. That's because it's written that way in the Indiana State Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Even for medical?
No, we can't do anything like that.
Can't do anything. Okay.
Indiana and most states, as a matter of fact, are very woefully lacking in civics education. We've had, I mean, you know, looking at some of the comments on the Indiana NORML Facebook page, for example, my God, some people don't even know there are federal and state governments to deal with.
Right.
You know, we're resuming our podcast to deal mostly with the sitting legislature. We're also going to be including some civics education. In fact, on the 26th, I think it is, we're going to be doing a program with J.D. Ford, one of our state senators, and we're going to talk specifically about what has to happen to make cannabis legal in Indiana. You know, it's it's mind-boggling that people don't know. You know, most people don't know that, don't realize that state government will influence your life way more than the president of the United States will. But of course, the president of the United States, regardless of who that is, gets all the attention.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's been one of the roadblocks to making cannabis legal everywhere. Now, with the new Congress that will sit on January 20th, and the new Senate that is, for all intents and purposes, now in Democrat control, we're going to see the MORE Act resurrected, and it'll pass. What that will do will be to deschedule cannabis. The reason cannabis is federally illegal.
Schedule 1, right? It's still Schedule 1 at the federal level.
Yeah, it's Schedule 1.
Yeah.
Part of the Controlled Substances Act of 1970 designated a schedule of substances. Schedule 1 was the worst and officially has no medical application. Heroin is one of those substances. Opium, all the opiates are, you know, in classifications because they can be prescribed.
Yeah.
But heroin, and there's a list, LSD, which, you know, LSD, most people never died from LSD. You don't die from the chemical of it. It's
same thing with psilocybin.
While tripping, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
No one's ever died from cannabis. The only way cannabis is going to kill you is a bale of it falls on you.
Yeah.
You know, it's wrongly on there. It was put on there wrongly, and it's taken this long to even budget. The MORE Act will remove cannabis from the CSA of 70, and at that point, it's technically legal. There are other federal laws, statutes that are involved that need to be changed. But once it's off the schedule, it's essentially legal.
So that's interesting, though. So the MORE Act, it's not scheduling it down to, like you said, all the big ones are Schedule 1. Like I know, like cocaine is Schedule 2.
Yeah.
You know, so there's like, apparently, according to the federal guidebook, you know, cocaine is better for you than marijuana. So, but this isn't just like descheduling it down to a lower schedule. It's actually completely removing it from the list.
Taking it off the schedule. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It passed the Congress just before the general election.
Wow.
But of course, you know, every 2 years it changes. You know, they do a new Congress. Everything gets that was tabled or passed one house, it all gets blown out, and they have to start all over.
I just said hit the floor again.
What was that?
What's the next step in that process for revisiting?
Well, it'll have to be reintroduced to the House floor. It'll go, assuming it's passed by the House, and then it'll go to the Senate. There may be a conference committee where they, straighten out, there may be a Senate version of the bill that'll be added and they want to make sure everything's going to jive on that. The Senate passes it, then it would go to the president for a signature. Then it could go into law.
There's someone that is expected to bring it forth? Like, is it?
So
right now?
I'm sorry, Justin, continue.
No, I'm just curious as if like, is it in motion currently? Is there somebody with the intention of doing that?
Yeah, it looks like Representative Nadler was the one.
Yeah.
Nadler and Joyd from, no, that's Gerald Nadler. He was the sponsor of the bill in 2020. Yeah.
He was a House sponsor. You know who the Senate sponsor of that same bill was?
Who?
Kamala Harris.
Beautiful. Well, and people are coming around. I mean, Cory Booker for the longest time was against rescheduling or taking it off the list, but now he's changed his tune. I mean, I think there's, yeah.
Cory's been on our side for several years.
He has?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, well, he, when he was mayor of
Newark?
No, of Baltimore, I think.
Was it Baltimore?
No. When he was mayor, he started a decriminalization thing.
Really? That must be a whole tide of misinformation out there, because I always understood him to be sort of against it. But
oh no, Cory Booker's been on our side. Here in Indiana, we've had, and he's not going to make a big show of it, but 7th District Congressman Andre Carson, we were able to show him that things, that prohibition was not a good thing. He has supported several cannabis bills.
Where's the district located?
District 7 is Indianapolis.
Okay.
In fact, it doesn't even cover all of Indianapolis.
But the important parts. Okay.
Well, the north side's important too,
yeah.
Even though I'm a dedicated South Sider.
So as a resident of Indiana, where can I look to see who's affecting those, who's making those votes in this situation?
Well,
represents me, and where they stand.
The individual legislators have different stands. Now, Indiana NORML is a nonpartisan organization. We don't favor Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green, whatever. The truth of the matter is, on a federal and a state level, progress has been blocked for several years by the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to, down the Republicans, but that's the fact of the matter, is that Republicans have not been our friends. Now that's starting to change. Now, for a couple of years now, Representative Jim Lucas out of House District 69 in the Seymour, Jackson County area has filed a couple of bills in the past, and he's got a couple more running now. Let's see.
Wait, here's my question. How does Joe Blow find out who the representative is, where they stand on the issue?
You can only find out what your representative stands on, how your representative stands on an issue.
Start with how do they find out who it is? Like
What was that?
How do they locate who the representative is?
Go to indianavoters.com.
Okay.
That tells you all kinds of things, who your representatives are.
Mm-hmm.
It'll tell you what down to the precinct that you live in, what that is, and it'll tell you your
one likely on your tax record, tells you what.
What was the first? What happened?
The screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm an old guy. Computer stuff. Indianavoters.com. You can plug in the information. You can register to vote or check your registration. That gives you all kinds of basic information. Now, the bills itself, You
So
got to
this
go
would be
to,
finding who my representative is, Indiana.gov. They will lead me through finding out who my local representative is. After
yeah, well, IndianaVoters.com, which is a part of the state government website.
Now, is there a place to find out where those representatives stand on this particular issue? Is there a
No, not specifically, unless, they've got, like Senator Karen Talion, she's going to be in favor of the bill she files. So will Lucas, so will Van Natter, that's really the only way. That's why Indiana NORML is starting the cannabis conversations with the official or with the legislators. We're going to try,
do you think it would be a bad idea to just directly ask each?
That is the best idea to do. Talk to your legislator.
Write them all the time. Yeah.
Yes, it takes everybody. You have to contact your representatives, even if they're the most backward person you've ever thought of, at least you take away an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't heard anybody. I mean, my constituents haven't. Well, yeah, they have. You just, it takes a lot of.
I remember as a kid, yep. As a kid or a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, I used to write Richard Lugar all the time.
Yeah. I remember Lugar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish he was one of the last good Republicans.
Yeah.
But
I've heard that my whole life. He was one of the last good ones. Yep.
Yeah.
So do you think going forward, maybe specifically for Indiana or in general, because I mean, a lot of states have gone this route of, legalizing it for medicinal use exclusively. And then the process of getting your permit and stuff. When I first moved to Colorado, that's the first thing I got was a medical license. I've since, once it went rec, I since stopped because I'd like to pay taxes into the system for it. But do you think it's better at this point, like with this MORE Act, to just completely unschedule it instead of having the stepping stone approach that seems to be happening with a lot of states?
How does the MORE Act affect the state level?
Yeah.
Well, Eric Holcomb, Indiana's governor, has said that we can't legalize it until it's legal federally, which is not true at all.
Not true at all. Yeah.
Not true at all. There are 35 states now that are legal for cannabis in some form.
Yeah, and bringing in huge revenue.
Quick question. Of those states that are currently have legal medicinal, legal recreational, how many of those states have representatives who vote against it?
On the federal level?
Yeah.
Well, pretty much, again, even on the federal level, we're getting the biggest resistance from the Republicans.
States that currently have their own legal situation. Wow.
Yeah. It changes. Republicans sometimes, Democrats sometimes. And, we see just less resistance from Democrats than we do Republicans.
But even some Republicans seem to be, I can only speak from my personal case here in Colorado, Cory Gardner, before he was booted out of office by Hickenlooper, he was softening to the idea. I mean, he didn't want to butt heads with the Colorado voter who believes in their marijuana, he's a hardcore Republican, a Trumpian, but still he was on the marijuana issue. He was like, because in Colorado, we've had time to prove this. I was just looking up numbers. Last year, 2020, we brought in over $2 billion of revenue. And about $500,000 of that is taxes that goes back into the government. I mean, how can you, turn a blind eye to that kind of revenue for a state, for local governments?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So there is no valid reason to keep cannabis illegal. None whatsoever.
No, it really it really bothers me that there's no easily accessible way to figure out what your representatives have voted for and against, like their voting record and history.
Ballotpedia usually does a fairly good job of that.
But it seems like information should be disseminated everywhere, especially like from you guys, like a normal situation. Like
you shouldn't have to dig for it. I mean, you really do have to dig for it. Yeah.
we've been, trying to get more information out about that, at least here in Indiana, who backs and who doesn't.
Because I think there's a disconnect between the federal vote, when you go vote, most people go vote for federal names.
Yeah.
When it comes to local names, if it's not local, like your local county government, if it's above county government, their knowledge of their representatives and what they stand for is pretty low.
Yeah.
There's a big gap there.
Because not every state puts out like a voter guide, basically showing the pros and cons of each side of the issue. Colorado is spoiled in that way because we get a big, hefty voter guide every election, even for midterm elections, and it shows us where everyone stands. And
you get a voter guide, like something is mailed to you.
Yeah. Well, because everyone gets a ballot in the mail too. We don't have to request one; it just shows up.
Why would that not be standard issue, like to send out? I assume it's basic, like here was this bill, they voted yay, this person voted nay, blah, blah, blah. That seems pretty simple.
It's available. It's all available, but you do have to dig for it.
I mean, yeah, it's public record, but.
Well, and League of Women Voters here, they do a reasonably good job on bigger issues, but again, you got to go looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, and unfortunately with a lot of people, you got to put it right in their face.
Yeah, it seems like with cannabis is such a hot topic issue that it would be one of the easier topics to just make people quickly aware that their representative is against it.
There is still that stigma that, you don't want to talk about marijuana. Well, it's okay to say the word marijuana in public now.
Yeah.
But that stigma is still there, and it's going to be there for some time. And
where do you see the genesis of that stigma as far from a political standpoint in this country? Because as I understand it, and I certainly am not very knowledgeable on all of this, but as far as I understand it, I mean, a lot of the stigma attached to marijuana came from the 1920s and the Prohibition era, and Richard Onslinger, and in conjunction with William Randolph Hearst.
Harry Anslinger.
Harry Anslinger, thank you, yeah.
Yeah,
vilifying it, driving down the streets in trucks with big billboards saying the devil's weed and stuff like that. Is that where it started, or did it? Okay.
At one time, cannabis was so common here in Indiana that it didn't get written about. It was as common as dandelions.
Mm-hmm.
My dad grew up in Hancock County, just east of Indianapolis. And he said that his family had 2 patches of hemp. One patch hemp that they grew for the family's clothes. The other patch is what he called sweet hemp. And that was, as he said, for the men to smoke after a day in the fields.
Yeah.
And yeah, everybody, they knew it, and they knew to grow it on opposite ends of the farm. You don't want to cross-pollinate, and it's just been, it's once Anslinger renamed it marijuana in conjunction with William Randolph Hearst and the Rockefellers and the Morgans and the Mellons. And all the rich scoundrels of the 1920s and 1930s. If you want to learn more about those days, a good resource for that is www.jackherer.com. That's JACKHERER.com. And the book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes.
I remember reading that. I was 18, 19 when I read that.
What was that?
I said I read that when I was 18, 19 years old, that book. It really changed my perspective on just the history of hemp and how much of a role it played in our country's founding, really. Survival.
At one time you could pay your taxes with hemp.
Yeah.
And in fact, at one time during the earliest stage of colonization of this country, you were required to grow hemp.
Yeah.
because they needed it for sales and for shipping, for
Victory
road.
was the,
Close,
those were the propaganda things, hemp for victory.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. One of Indiana's big tourist attractions, Conner Prairie, used to be Indiana's largest hemp farm.
Wow.
Wow.
So
They
for a
don't
little
tell
bit-
you about that in the brochure, do they?
I hear you there. That's cool. So for perspective, Ryan has lived in Colorado. He lived in Indiana.
I
most of
grew
his
up.
life.
I grew up in Jeffersonville, so southern Indiana.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
That's exactly my
How long have you
reaction.
been in Colorado?
I've been in Colorado since 2008.
How quickly do you think the stigma that he referred to disappeared after legalization?
Here in
Yeah,
Colorado.
nobody probably cares about it now.
No, I mean, the thing that's amazing to me, and the thing I've always known, because I've been a lifelong consumer of THC and marijuana in general, but the thing that was amazing to me the first time I came to Colorado, got my medical license, and it sort of, and that was great. But then when I didn't renew it, because we chose to go rec, and I chose to go rec with it, with the system. And still to this day, every time I walk into a dispensary, it's people from every walk of life. You can't define this, people's use of this wonderful plant by, their age or their race or their class. You see, every time I go in, I see an 80-year-old grandmother. I see, a freshly minted 21-year-old. I see me, a 40-year-old in there, and people of all different shapes and sizes, colors and backgrounds. It's everyone does it. It's amazing to me. And so therefore, I don't think there was a stigma, at least not here in Colorado. It just now finally people felt comfortable going out and expressing themselves, and saying, I'm going to not feel ashamed of this anymore. I don't have to hide it. I can just be myself, It was a beautiful moment.
It blew my mind visiting. It really did. The first time I visited Colorado, it blew my mind. Just like sitting in a restaurant, looking at it, handling it in the open with zero fear. And I felt totally comfortable within minutes.
Your eyes can be as red as you want. You don't have to ever buy eye drops again. You can be as stoned as you want and you need as many cheeseburgers as you want. It's not, no one cares. Like, yeah, no one yells at you. I've never seen a protest demonstration at a dispensary in Colorado in my time. I'm sure there have been somewhere, but
you don't see them in liquor stores either. You know what I mean? It's just
the only holdout right now is Colorado Springs. Last time I checked, it might have changed because I haven't checked in about a year, but Colorado Springs did not allow dispensaries within the city. And that's it's a Republican safe haven there. They got around it because Manitou Springs, which is flush up against Pikes Peak, is sort of a liberal haven, and it's a different municipality. So there's like 100 dispensaries there.
Wow, I haven't been out there since last time I was in that area was 1971.
Wow.
I was following the dead.
Oh yeah.
And
that's why I wanted to talk to you. I didn't even want to attempt to describe you to Ryan because I couldn't have done it justice. But my thought of you is like you're the original frontliner. You're the original activist. You've always been an activist. You care about the world, and you've always been on the front lines of those people who.
At age 16, my parents were Roosevelt Democrats and very big Kennedy supporters. And even as a little kid, something about government, something about, what is this thing? Why do they say things that I have to do or I see my parents have to do? I loved history. I loved civics. I loved news. I love watching TV news, radio news, listening to radio news. And as a matter of fact, my degree is double major journalism sociology.
You're IU alum, right?
Yeah. class 75.
Awesome.
And when I was a little kid, I used to play newsman. We had a guy here in Indianapolis on Channel 6. At that time, it was called WFBM TV. And his name was Gilbert Forbes. And he sat there and stared you the news. He memorized the script. They might have one film piece of an evening, but I would get things out of the newspaper and, you know, write my own little stories on it. And, you know, I eventually did that professionally.
Wow. So you graduated IU when, 75? Is that what you said?
75, yeah.
Wow. So
I was one of Alfred Lindesmith's last students. Alfred Lindesmith in the sociology department was probably the first academic call for relegalization. And he taught sociology of drugs, a couple of other classes. He retired in 73, and I was one of his very last students. He was a hell of an instructor. He was a very dedicated man. So I got that started. But even before that, well, when I was 16, I volunteered to work for Roger Brannigan's gubernatorial campaign here in Indiana, and ended up working. I was a teenager for Bobby Kennedy.
Wow.
In 1968, and you know, decided.
Where'd you go to high school?
Indianapolis, Thomas Carr Howe.
Gotcha.
And I led a couple of student walkouts there before I bailed out. And I started looking into the left side of things, and I did a lot of anti-war protests, and with the idea of that I wanted to. I had 12 friends of mine came home from Vietnam in boxes. I wanted to know why. Yeah. And, you know, these are kids I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know why they are now dead, to stop communism in a small backwater Southeast Asian country.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. I wanted to know why. And at the age of 16, in fact, on my 16th birthday, I smoked my first joint. As a friend of mine came back, one of the few of my friends that came back from Vietnam alive, brought a whole duffel bag full of the world's finest marijuana back with him. He just came back home from his third tour of duty. He was somewhat older than I am. Third tour of duty, and they weren't bothering anybody that came back from third tour of duty and over there. He just stopped by the house on my 16th birthday and didn't even realize it was my birthday, and dug into his duffel bag, gave me a whole pound of pot. Well, I had been wondering about it, and so a couple of friends of mine and I
had a pound.
sat down behind my dad's garage on this beautiful spring day, and you know, we rolled. I knew how to hand roll a tobacco cigarette, so I figured out how to roll a serviceable joint. We smoked it between the four of us and laid there and gazed up at the beautiful blue sky and listened to the bugs buzzing around and watching the birds chirp and listening to them chirp and smelling the sweet smell of spring. And I've been getting high ever since.
That's the life.
Yeah,
love.
Why would anybody want to come between that? You know, doesn't make sense to me.
Because people,
you know, they've tried every damn lie possible.
Yeah.
You know, it's just.
and now that the lies aren't working out, they're trying to block the research, trying to block money being. I mean, we all know better, but you know, more money that's dumped into research, the more we can debunk all of these myths about it. And you know, we need significantly more money. I'd be happy for my tax dollars to go to more research in terms of, you know,
the biggest problem we've had with research was a report that was issued by the Rocky Mountain High Intensity Drug Task Force in 2015 that was about 90% bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 90% lie, particularly on the driving. I mean, they just bold-faced lied about the statistics from Colorado, from Oregon, and Washington state that, you know, it was just lie. That was all there was to it. And we get some jackass prosecutors here in Indiana that are holding this 2015 study up that was full of lies and crap, and that's what they're basing their decisions on.
I assume this was not a peer-reviewed study. I mean, they didn't have to submit it to medical journal. I mean, see, that's the problem for me. Is, I mean, you need to know what your source is, or where your source comes from. I mean, you can't.
Well, this is straight out of law enforcement.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It was a law.
Now, why does law enforcement not want cannabis legal? The money involved, the civil asset forfeiture. Here in Indiana, and most states are like this.
It's a problem, yeah.
Here in Indiana, the police can come in. They don't even have to arrest you, but they can say, "Hey, look at this nice big TV you got. I think you bought that with pop money that you sold, so I'm going to take it." Mm-hmm. And it's up to you to prove that you did not pay for it with money that you made from selling cannabis. Mm-hmm. That's the way the civil asset forfeiture laws are structured.
It's disgusting.
There's another thing with the private prisons.
Yeah.
The private prisons are, you know, they're contracted with the state of Indiana, and it varies from state to state. Right. And in Indiana, if their occupancy rate falls below 90%, the state of Indiana has to pay them a bunch of money.
Yeah, the contracts are basically set up in a way that they have to spend money to fight the legalization of it.
And cannabis consumers are usually the low-hanging fruit. We usually don't cause problems. We usually, oh, you're going to arrest me? Well, bummer. You know, we have not a tendency to, we don't like violence. We don't like, we don't want to threaten or hurt anybody. We want to enjoy life.
There's no angry cannabis user.
Not very often.
There's plenty of angry drunks, but not.
Yeah. Woody Harrelson said something about if cannabis had been legal, how many kids would grow up with not having the terror of a drunk father coming home and beating them, having a problem with a father coming home stoned and hungry.
What am I? Bill Hicks used to always,
Hoosier, right? Woody's a Hoosier?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is.
I forget where exactly he was born, but
Valparaiso or something, I want to say.
That may be right. I had an opportunity to meet Woody through Gatewood Galbraith 25 years ago. Wow. Gatewood was Kentucky's cannabis hero. And I got to meet Gatewood when he came up with the Kentucky Marijuana Feasibility Study in 1977, when I was working at a radio station in Lexington, Kentucky. I heard about his study, and I gave him a whole hour unopposed to lay it all out. And I almost got fired for it, but he laid it out. I asked him one question, and if you knew Gatewood, you knew that was all it took. Right. We filled an hour, and I had to shut him up. But Gatewood and I became good friends.
Wow!
From that, we spoke many times together. I had a chance to hang out with Jack Hempeor in the early '90s. That was, Jack was a character, but he was extremely intelligent, and he also wanted to know why. Why are people's lives being disrupted completely unnecessarily by cannabis arrests? When the plant does nothing but help.
Yeah.
There's no other plant on this planet that will feed you, clothe you, house you, heal you, and help you to enjoy life more than cannabis hemp.
Yeah. Especially once you start separating the active alkaloids, and there's so many. I mean, the proven medical benefits of CBD now. I guess CBD now is legal everywhere. Maybe that's the one thing that
Even in Indiana, except for the flower.
yeah.
Let me
But,
throw this in
one,
there.
one of my favorites is CBN. I use CBN almost every
Mhm.
night. It's the best sleep aid I've ever had in my life.
Oh,
They,
yeah.
they
And the
recently
terpenes
had
have a role.
flower shops.
Yeah. What, Justin?
Yeah.
The
They
terpenes.
recently had hemp flower CBD shops here in Indiana. I'm pretty sure there was one in Jeffersonville.
Oh, yeah. There's you can sell it open CBD openly in Indiana.
Flower.
Flower, no, it was. They determined that it was illegal. I'm trying to remember exactly what.
So this was recently.
Yeah, within the last year. And then federal court said, no, you can't make it illegal, but they haven't done anything yet. This is one of Governor Holcomb's.
So what are they doing to those shops that already exist?
You just can't sell the flower. You can sell the oil. You can sell CBD edibles.
Like dabs. I remember they had, like, I've never been in there, but I remember looking at their website. And they had, rosin, live rosin, every kind of CBD flower you can imagine.
It's just without THC in
Same
it.
packaging as any dispensary you would see in anywhere.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You just can't sell or legally possess the flower. The reason was that official reason was, oh, the police can't tell the difference.
Well,
How come you can get any coot ass hippie out on the street that can tell a difference, but a trained police officer can't?
yeah.
I think
That's bullshit.
It's no
Texas dealt
excuse.
with that. Texas was having that same issue, I believe. They made CBD legal, and then there was a lot of court battles about, proving one from the other, being able to field test it, blah blah blah. It became a big issue. I remember hearing.
Yeah. Several states have that problem. South Dakota, where the majority of people voted to legalize cannabis, they're doing everything they can to stop it from being implemented.
At the state government level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It should be.
What about in Kentucky? Because Kentucky is a medical marijuana state, but I've heard that they're not.
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Okay.
They've got CBD, and that's about it.
Okay.
Of course, Kentucky is a different animal. I love Kentucky. I lived in Kentucky twice. And, they have this area called the Emerald Triangle, central Kentucky. Huh?
The Cornbread Mafia? The old Cornbread Mafia territory? Harlan County?
The game that they've played down there for decades is that they will, everybody grows. Everybody.
Yeah.
Cops, judges, lawyers, they all grow. They all grow. And, cops will roll up, deputy, usually the county sheriff, roll up and Farmer Johnny, you're under arrest. We found marijuana growing. You're under arrest. Excuse me, please. Got a little bit of bronchitis going. Johnny will go to jail and OR after 4 hours. He'll go to arraignment in 3 to 4 weeks. The cops will say, we have misplaced Farmer Johnny's crop, so we don't have any evidence. Farmer Johnny gets cut loose. He goes home, and by golly, there's his crop all properly cured, dried, and bagged up, ready for sale. They played that game for decades.
No. Yeah, the Cornbread Mafia was a very big organization that controlled a lot of pot growth and sales, basically 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like, had tigers and alligators in their barns and shit. That kind of it's
I
wild.
don't like the Steve Earle song because you better stay away from Copperhead Road.
Yeah.
Copperhead Road, I should say. Say, yeah, you don't want to go down there.
Yeah, it's good old boys.
I hear there are a couple of places in Indiana like that too.
Almost certainly, I'm sure. It's got a lot of rural territory here that's still pretty prideful.
Just don't go picking wild up around Lowell, Indiana. You have to smoke a half an acre to get a lousy buzz and a headache.
Yeah. Now, Kentucky is growing hemp currently.
Oh yeah, hemp is legal generally across the nation.
Yeah, I remember seeing that University of Kentucky was one of the first places to get like a permit when they first started it. They've had several successful crops that they've done there at the university, which is pretty cool because they're doing a lot of research with it.
Are there federal farms for growing hemp? Like, I wonder if like the Department of Agriculture and the Forest Service
probably test plots.
Yeah,
that's
one of my things. Is let's stop cutting trees down and use hemp. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to continue to cut our resources down, especially old growth forests. Like that's a big thing up in the Tongass in Alaska right now. It drives me crazy. But I mean, why can't we get federal agencies to act quicker with this kind of stuff and have huge federal farms that can produce clothes and paper? And
because they don't know, they don't care, and they don't care to know.
Because the structure, the financial structure of the system is already set up, and they don't want to change it.
Yeah. Well, that is, they'd have to actually do their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's one of the things about the length of time that I've been an activist has been, I've always had to fight, and I don't always win the battle, but I always have to fight cynicism. Mm-hmm. The way some of the things I've seen, just
right. I believe it. How do you think Indiana suffers economically as far as being able to, say day one, January 2022, it's legal here recreationally. How far do you think we are behind strategically, economically, business-wise, et cetera, to be able to compete in a marketplace that will obviously be nationwide very soon? Like, I feel like that alone is something that we need to be very concerned about.
Indiana never leads in anything worthwhile. Never has, never will. There are a lot, it's all political now. It's just all in the realm of politics. The people are on our side. We have 77% pretty much across the United States, and here in Indiana, also 77% of people that want cannabis legal. Okay, we don't need to. I mean, we're still going to continue. Indiana NORML, other individuals and organizations are still going to do the public education thing because there are still people who don't understand.
Worried about crime rates going up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, a lot of factors that go into that.
Yeah.
But it's Indiana's never been a leader of anything worthwhile. We lead in stuff we shouldn't lead in.
Yeah.
But, it's I don't know. It just gets mind-boggling sometimes why these people are
That's
They
why
just
it's
don't
more
give a
impressive
shit.
to me that
They
you're
don't care.
doing it. That's why I'm so impressed by the length of time that you've spent fighting this fight in this state, particularly.
It takes courage. It takes so much courage, and
It's resolve out the wazoo, really.
I've renamed the state Indiana, Stan.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's, you know, I got into being a cannabis activist when a friend of mine down in Bloomington, and we didn't know the exact medical applications yet, 1972. We knew it made you feel good when you didn't feel good to begin with. But this friend of mine got caught with one joint and went to jail for 20 years.
oh my God.
And we figured it out later that he was using cannabis and it was controlling his an arterial problem he had. And when he was off of it for 6 months, he died in prison. You know, this was a good guy. He never should have been put in that situation.
Makes me so angry.
But it made me so mad that somebody's got to do something, and I guess it's me. You know, I'm just a man. I just, you know, I know nobody special really. I just stood up and got tired of the bullshit and wanted to do something about it.
How has
people feel that same way right now?
mm-hmm.
Well, the more the merrier. You know, we've got to have. It takes all of us. It takes everybody. It takes people contacting their legislators. It takes people showing up at rallies. It takes people, you know, passing information on social media. It takes everybody to, you know, and it's at the very root. It's a problem not with cannabis, but a problem with government and a problem with who we have let infiltrate government.
Yeah, it's a lack of participation in our civic duty.
Civics. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're totally fine. I don't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say it's a lack of participation in our own education too. We have to figure out how to responsibly educate people without turning them away or turning them off from it. I was going to ask, like, since you've been doing this so long and been directly involved in these kinds of campaigns, now that there's more and more people coming into the fold. I think you threw out 70% people in this country are for this. I mean, does that feel to you? I mean, there's still so much more work to be done, but are you able to look back and then look now and see how far we actually have come? And does that bring you hope? Does that shatter the cynicism, at least in your own life, or at least, you know?
Somewhat. Yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done. You know, like I said, Indiana will never lead in anything we ought to lead in. And, you know, I just, it'll happen.
Mm-hmm. I believe it will.
Yeah, I'm 68 right now. I think it'll happen within my lifetime. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's, you know, it's got to happen. People got to get off their dead asses and do something.
Let me ask you that. What can somebody that happens to watch this and hear you talk about it, what can they do immediately after hearing you discuss it to make a difference? What's they should do, and how do they go about it?
You can join Indiana NORML and add your voice to the rest of us. You know, you're breaking up there.
I'm sorry. How do they do that? What's the process of doing that?
You can go to inormal.com.
Okay.
I'm sorry. IndianaNORML.org.
Okay.
And go to our Facebook page at Indiana NORML. Now that's Indiana NORML.
Mm-hmm.
There's no A in it.
I used to have one of those shirts, and it's one of the saddest things that I wish I still had. Like, I'm determined to get me another one. So they're on the website, I assume. I can
Oh
try to
yeah,
receive them
we
for-
got shirts everywhere. We've got signs. You know, takes money to do this.
Those shirts hold
Yeah.
up well from my experience. They last a long time. They're good quality.
Yeah, there we are. iNormal.org. Yeah. Then our Facebook page at Indiana NORML. We'll keep you informed. We'll be
Election voter
having.
guide.
What's that?
Yeah, there's an election voter guide like right there that we just
That
talked
was from, yes.
Yep,
Um,
right here.
perfect.
we did that. We've, you know, it's not easy to get that done. We're also looking for people throughout the state to, you know, we've divided the state into zones, and we've been trying to get people to, you know, take the lead so that we can have, if you call a legislator or write an email or a snail mail letter to a legislator in Lake County, and you live in Bartholomew County, you know,
Right.
the legislator said, well, okay, he's part of the state, but he's not one of my people. I don't have to worry about his vote. If you live in Bartholomew County, Columbus, Indiana, and you know, you contact somebody from Columbus who's in the legislature, they're going to listen to you. You know, you're a vote to them.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to, you know, so if we can get people in Evansville and Seymour and Jeffersonville and Crawfordsville and Terre Haute and, you know, all that, we've got a lot of coverage in the northern part of the state. We're a little short in the southern part of the state. Get a hold of us on our Facebook page or drop us a message. You know, we'd be happy to talk to you. We need people to, you know, who, if they don't know the issue, can learn the issue real quick, and, you know, turn around and recruit other people to help you. You know, we're going by the congressional districts, and like a lot of those have many counties in them. So, you know, expand, get the word out that way. That's been our basic philosophy on that. Contribute money to us. You know, we need money. We had in 2017, we had a billboard up on I-70 here in Indianapolis about the opiate crisis and how cannabis helps reduce opiates by 25%.
Yeah.
And those cost, for a 2-week run of that, cost us $2,000 on a discount.
Takes money to be
Yeah.
active.
So expensive.
Yeah. You know, we'd love to buy TV commercials. Good Lord.
One of the things, one way that we did this in Colorado before it went rec, and I loved it. And I feel like it's a really solid way to connect the general populace, is to start pushing the research that is showing how much cannabis helps those suffering with PTSD.
Oh yeah. We've been working
Helps them get off of opioids.
veterans groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In fact, one of our activists, Jeff Staker, runs Hoosier Vets for Medical Cannabis, and he's on his own dime. He's gone to Washington, D.C. and talked to our representatives there. He has organized a lot of different military veterans organizations, VFW, American Legion, you know, and then our chairman, Will Henry, is very big into veterans affairs. Jason Straw is a retired captain of Air Force who was yep, that's him. Jason is one of our board members. He was a retired combat nurse who fully understands and does most of our medical research. You know, it's yeah, we're you know, these people put it on the line for us. You know, we need to put it on the line for them now.
Amen.
Yeah. You know, so it's, yeah, we're covering that.
These people are and what they do, I think is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
just a simple share of information sometimes.
Yeah.
So you'll learn quite a bit from just that simple action. So I highly recommend people do that.
And I think one other way, this may be a small way, but it can sort of like a grassroots type effort. And I'm sure you've been doing this for many years, but and I have started doing it too. Just being honest about your marijuana use, about your cannabis use. Just let your friends know that you use cannabis, so that it becomes normalized in some way, so that, it's just people who have no experience with it, have never grown up with it, and think it's the devil for some reason because they've listened to all the misinformation. If they know someone that uses it, and, oh, that guy's pretty cool, that girl's pretty cool, nothing wrong with her, and she uses, then it becomes normalized, and we can all like have a connection again. It's just as simple as that.
That's why we have shirts.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I normal. That is so cool. That is so.
Yeah,
cool.
I normal, you normal, he normal.
Yeah.
But we've had.
Who are some of the famous national NORML members over the years?
Keith Strop was the founder of National NORML. Keith is still runs a daily blog post.
Bill Maher.
Yeah, he's helped us. Rick Steves, who does the travel shows.
Yeah, really? I had
no
idea.
One of the founder of Indiana NORML is an Indiana attorney named Stephen Dillon. And Steve served on the national board as chairman for many years. There's Willie Nelson.
Or did.
Yeah, Willie Nelson, the Grateful Dead.
Yeah. Wow.
There's been a lot of people that have been on our side.
And there are several different organizations as well that do similar things, and you guys aren't enemies. You guys work well together, teams, all in the same kind of.
There's no enemies among cannabis friends.
Yeah, there's moms for whatever groups. There's all kinds of them. It's amazing.
Well, here in Indianapolis, we have the first Church of Cannabis as well.
That's right.
Bill Levin,
really,
who is a longtime cannabis activist here in Indiana. When the Religious Freedom Restoration Act passed in 2015, we got to thinking, there is a spiritual side to cannabis. People have used cannabis as a sacrament for thousands of years, and we had. Bill
even made it was part of like the anointing oil.
Cannabism. And scholars are 99.9% sure that it was cannabis. It was used as part of the holy anointing oil. They found samples of it still stuck to the inside of stone vessels.
Wow.
And they, I think they just found a mummy with cannabis. I'm trying to remember. It wasn't too long ago. They found a mummy with cannabis 22,000 years old.
I mean, yeah,
around a while.
Once you learn about the plant itself, it makes sense that would be just like hand in hand with our history for a multitude of reasons across all cultures.
If you do nothing with the cannabis plant, but just let it grow, it will help enrich the soil and stop soil erosion. If you do nothing with it, just let it grow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it. You guys are good.
Wow.
Siberian Ice Maiden.
That's right.
The most important biological finds of the 20th century. Wow. And
well,
this is the reconstruction. It's so cool how they can do that. It's
yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with cannabis, but they just found a dinosaur with skin and internal organs intact.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I got to show my daughter that. She's going to freak out.
Go to my Facebook page, Skywolf Neal Smith, and you'll have to scroll back a little bit, but I ran that a couple days ago, I believe it was. Yeah, it's science is wonderful.
Yeah.
I hope we as a nation get to learn that again. I just read this evening that President-elect Biden is planning on having a cabinet-level office for science.
Yeah, it's amazing that we don't already. It just astounded. Yeah.
You know.
I'm trying to find that article real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for. You say it's on your Facebook?
Yeah.
From a couple days ago.
Go ahead. Back to the church, though.
Okay. Well, I read RFRA as it passed, and my first thought was this leaves the door open for sacramental use of cannabis.
Yeah.
So I got a hold of Steve Dillon and former Chairman Bill Martin, who was still on our board at that time. Said, hey, what do you guys think about this? They were looking at that too. And we all kind of looked at each other as to who would do such a thing. And everybody said Bill Levin. And
this made like statewide news. I remember seeing this on our local news down, southern Indiana here.
Well, I immediately called Bill, and he had already had the same damn idea and already had it in motion. So it's, Bill's a wonderful person. He's one of my favorite people ever on the face of this planet. But I worked with him in opening the church in 2015, and the first day there we had 1,200 people.
Oh yeah.
And there probably had 300 people protesting.
Of course.
Wow.
Of course, at that time, Indianapolis Metropolitan Police, well, it was still called IPD then. Rick Haidt likened Bill Levin to Jim Jones. That
another Hoosier. Yeah, Jim Jones was a Hoosier, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize
that pissed us off. So on opening day, just to take a jab at him, I have a yippie background too, by the way. Just take a jab at him. We set up a Kool-Aid stand.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
And the highlight of the day. The highlight of the day was when two of the churches that came out to protest us, their preachers got into a fist fight in our front yard over some point of dogma that they were arguing with each other.
It always happens. They just needed to smoke a joint. That's all they had to do.
Two preachers got into a fist fight.
Why was there controversy?
They didn't think that marijuana had a place in Indianapolis.
Or a place.
It was that stigma again.
Or a place in Christianity.
Or a place anywhere, yeah.
So was it being used in the church? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. We determined that it would be best to sue the state for lack of for being denied our religious freedom. And we made a point of not violating the law. So, it's, and for the brief period that hemp flower was legal here in Indiana, we did smoke it as part of the after ceremony. First Church Cannabis on Facebook, that's something. We have services every Wednesday night at 7:30.
So is that process ongoing, that legal argument?
Yes. Well, the suit has been adjudicated. They determined that, yes, the First Church of Cannabis is, in fact, a religious organization. It's a legal church, but no, you can't use an illegal substance as a sacrament.
But so
That's how that came down.
how would that differ? And I realize maybe the gravity of this question being, based in like Native American rights and stuff like that. But how is that different from the Native American church being allowed to use peyote? I mean, how does
Tradition.
there has to be a traditional element to
well, the indigenous people have used peyote
for
and
thousands of years? Yeah.
various mushrooms and cannabis for hundreds of maybe thousands of years. First Church Cannabis had been on the planet for 2 years at that time.
Okay.
So that was their main cop out excuse.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It seems like a cop out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
But it made
again,
it
it's
the highest level possible, and a decision was made in writing that set a standard that can be challenged in the future.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially if we get the MORE Act passed, right?
We're hoping.
Yeah.
You know, we've got, like I said before, both on federal and state level, it's the Republicans that have always been the stick in the mud.
Yeah.
At least on the federal level, we've got, Democrat control. Kamala Harris has been completely behind legalization for several years now. Even Biden, who
Yeah.
at one time, well, he's the father of the 1994 Crime Act.
Yep.
And, even he is softening his position on cannabis. So
Yeah,
it's
just in the past couple of years too, not it's a very recent thing.
I think his memory is softening in general, though.
well,
He's trying to distance himself from that 94 Crime Act.
I just think you can't
Yeah.
read much.
well, I'm trying not to be partisan.
I'm just kidding.
Trying not to be partisan. I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden. I am a big fan of Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
But I supported Bernie Sanders up until
too.
the primary.
Me too. That was mine. Yeah.
So
mhm.
same question as before. How can somebody listening to this do something to impact the MORE Act situation and make their voices heard?
Write your congressperson. Write your senators. Even if your senators are not particularly on our side, write them anyway.
Write them and call too. I mean,
write them, call, visit when they're in the,
Yeah. Both your representative and your senators, both senators.
Okay. Yeah. And
all their offices.
And go to their Facebook page and post. We decided that Governor Holcomb was Governor Holcomb was full of shit.
Mhm.
Okay, to put it bluntly. And we had people, not necessarily in our organization, but people he couldn't go to a ribbon cutting somewhere with 150 people not zapping him on his cannabis position. And it got to the point that his office contacted one of our board members and begged us to stop.
And you didn't stop.
Oh, hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no. We doubled it.
Yeah.
Until 77%
Yeah,
of the people of the state want something done. He's not doing it. Why not?
Yeah. That's
Right.
how you do it.
and that's something we deserve to know.
You can't back down from these people.
Yeah.
You always have to be civil. You always have to be polite and professional. Even though sometimes you just want to grab them and slap them.
You can't let them sit in comfort in their power seat.
That's right.
You gotta keep pushing. Society will inevitably run backwards if you don't keep pushing forward.
Well,
That's
they're there
right.
to represent us. So if you don't let your opinion known to them, they're not going to represent your interest if you
That's
don't
right.
express it.
It's true.
You know, we're trying at Indiana NORML to make that easier for people to, but with the, we'll have the cannabis conversations with the legislators coming up here in a couple of weeks. And, you know, we will take to the stream anytime we need to get information out.
Where can we
You
find
know,
this? Where can we find these videos like upcoming that you're talking about here? These
we'll be Facebook Live on at Indiana NORML,
okay.
our Facebook page. We've also got some on our YouTube page. I don't remember the exact URL on that, but go to YouTube and search for Indiana NORML. You know, we've got locations in most social media, Twitter, Instagram. So we're there. We're there.
Perfect.
And if you don't have, if you're watching this and you're not in Indiana, I'm sure your state has a NORML chapter.
Yeah.
So,
One day, right? There, I mean, you blanketed the country with them.
mm-hmm. Well, if all else fails, go to norml.org. That's a national organization. And they're good people there.
Do when you do like Facebook Live sessions, I'm sort of stupid when it comes to this. When you're doing that, are comments enabled? Can you have people comment
Yes.
live? And that's awesome.
Yes, we from time to time we follow the town hall format, and you know, we invite people you know, to come on and yeah, what question would you like to ask this person?
Mm-hmm.
We did this with the candidates in the lead up to the election in November, and we had great success with it. You know, we talked to Republicans, we talked to Libertarians, we talked to Democrats. You know, if you're pro cannabis, you know, what's a label?
Yeah.
You know, we have on our board is politically about as diverse as it gets. We got, well, our chairman, Will Henry, was a Libertarian lieutenant governor candidate. We've got a couple of Republicans on our board. We got a couple of Democrats, and I'm a socialist. I'm a democratic socialist following Bernie Sanders. You know, we got everybody.
That's why it's so apparent to me, and maybe it's not apparent to most, or maybe it is, but I don't know. I'm just talking out my butt here, but like it seems so apparent that this is one of the big bipartisan issues that this country could tackle. Mm-hmm. Like people always like, especially in these times, yes, there's part of us as a society that's polarized and we're divided, but honestly, I think once you like get down and start talking to people, there are many issues that all of us can agree on, and this is definitely one of them.
Cannabis never should have been a partisan issue to begin with.
No, never.
You know, it's just
part of it is religious organizations getting involved and doing all that, but you know, I just, alcohol is a drug too. I mean, and while I drink sometimes, I would much rather see a dispensary at every corner than a liquor store.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
I'm sure with the, you know, quarantine lockdowns and stuff, that, you know, use in legal states has skyrocketed and mental health is, you know, swaying to the gutter. But I assume those people that have access to it are a lot better off than someone like me or Neal, you know what I mean, stuck in, you know, these twilight zones that, you know, look through the dirty mirror at your glorious intelligent states with envy, you know what I mean? But yeah. You know, I'm not a drinker, so it's hard for me to drink a beer to relax. You know, I'm just not that kind of guy, but I wish I had access to, you know, a safe, reliable, you know, and legal source of cannabis for my mental state.
Yeah.
Especially during the past year of this nonsense we've been dealing with.
I went right up to the point of being an alcoholic. Cannabis brought me back.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and I still, you know, once in a while, I'll hang out with my older brothers and have a shot of whiskey with them. But,
sure.
You know, and once in a blue moon, I'll have a beer with dinner. You know, It's
I
my
only
big
couldn't go to
demon was
Colorado so
tobacco.
often.
And I've been tobacco cigarette free for 18, 19 months now.
Wow.
And, you know, I couldn't have done it without cannabis. Could not have done
Yeah.
it without cannabis.
I got one in my hand now. It's just the worst.
I quit.
Well-
I quit tobacco for about 6 years. And then last year, 2020, I just
Yeah.
it happened again, and I've been smoking since. And you know, it's my next big thing that I need to do to stop. You know, but
Well, I smoked for the last 20 years or so. I smoked organic tobacco that I hand rolled and without a filter.
yeah.
Commercial cigarettes have 39 known cancer causing chemicals added to them or added to the growth and processing of the tobacco. Benzene.
I smoke Marlboro Reds, so
Yeah. But my problem was I just, you know, I couldn't get enough tobacco. I'd smoke, when I quit, I was smoking 30 cigarettes a day, pack and a half. And I've smoked up 4 packs a day.
part of it for me is the actual act of smoking feels having a connection to something that's organic, and realizing that, you know, mass produced tobacco is junk, and I use it. But you know, that's the hardest thing for me to give up in that time, that interim, that's 5-6 years, was just the act of it. And cannabis really was sort of the saving grace in that regard. While I can't walk around smoking a joint all day, I can, you know, have those certain moments during the day when I can interact with the smoke coming out. Does that make sense? I mean, do you guys?
Oh yeah.
As someone who has ADD, like it goes hand in hand with being able to like slow down my thoughts. Nicotine is the best tool aside from cannabis to allow me to like process and explain the thoughts I'm having, at least slow them down to a rate that I can get out of my mouth.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Cannabis is not addictive.
Right.
There's nothing chemically about it that makes it physically addictive. Like anything else on this earth, you know, it can be habit forming. Sure. I mean, I can make a habit out of drinking too much water.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at some point you've got to have some self-control.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of what it is. I know people who, you know, I have one photographer friend of mine that, you know, he takes pictures of anything. A little much, but each their own. You know.
Anything in excess is not good for the
not good for the head.
Yeah.
But it's, you know.
Cookies aren't either.
For me, cannabis has been, as I struggle with insomnia frequently, and cannabis has been the only. I can't. Every now and then I'll take melatonin or something like that, but melatonin, you know, it'll put me to sleep, but I wake up so groggy and just not.
You don't get a full 8 hours on melatonin.
You don't, but you know, I mentioned CBN earlier. When I discovered CBN a few years ago, that just blew my mind. But even just, you know, just smoking cannabis before bed is so soothing. It relaxes me. And I can actually fall asleep at a decent hour. If I don't have it, I'm up till 3 in the morning, sometimes 4. It's sort of absurd. But
well, it's, you know, there are strains specifically designed to help you sleep.
Yeah.
There have been, you know, I went through a period a year or so ago that I had runaway insomnia. And I, you know, managed to get a hold of some Black Domina, the strain. And always before, if I smoke one of those, I'm down for at least 8 hours. Didn't even help about a year ago, and I had to go to a chemical sleep aid, but I got, you know, past that point and then off of those and back to, you know, nothing like a good indica just before bedtime.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what they always call it, indica.
Yeah.
Couching?
Well, it's smoking isn't the only medical way of using cannabis.
Right.
Edibles.
I love edibles. Yeah.
I've had some. I'm not a big edibles fan myself. Boy, when I have pain, and I had left hip replaced 2 years ago, and I've got some serious lower back problems, and I've got a right hip that probably I'm going to have to replace at some point in the future. I'm trying to put it off, but when it gets really bad, that's where the edible comes in, or Rick Simpson oil that has been shown to cure some cancers.
I've been using this stuff lately. This is from a company called Escape Artists.
And
it's a lotion. It's topical lotion with a 1:25 ratio of THC to CBD. And I use it on my lower back. I have some problems lifting my kids for the last 8 years, I swear by it. I put this on